So that's my entire preparation of the Sicilian Grand Prix, basically from the time it was about like 1700 till about 2300. So from about 97 to 1997 to about 1999. That was it. That's it, you guys. That's it. I'm going to show you guys the extent, essentially, of my preparation in the Grand Prix opening. From basically the time I was probably like 1700 till I was about like 2200. So I'll show you the extent of my preparation, and you guys are going to laugh at this because this shows you how different the game of chess is altogether. Okay. So e4, c5, knight c3. So this is the Grand Prix. This is probably, I would say, roughly the time period from about 1990. Let's see, probably about the time frame 1996-ish through 1997 into maybe early 1998. So this is more or less my Grand Prix repertoire. So knight c3. There are a couple moves black can play. One of them is to play a6 here, and my knowledge of a6 was basically I play f4, d5, knight f3, bishop b7, and then play d4 takes and queen d4. This is all that I knew in this line with a6 and b5. And this was basically the extent. I knew that after knight c6, you go queen f2, bishop d3, castle the king, and you play the game of chess. All right. So that's what I knew. That's for a6. That's one line. Okay, another line that happened a lot was a lot of kids would play e6, f4. So this is all standard. They would go d5. And now, of course, there are a couple of ways to play it. Probably the main way to play it is pawn takes, bishop b5 check. Now, the game that I actually won to become a master had this opening, in fact, with knight c6, knight f3. I think it was knight f6, knight e5, queen c7, queen e2, and so forth. I think it was bishop e7, takes, castles, d3, bishop d6. And I think I played knight a4, queen f2 here. Again, I don't have the game score right now. If I'm able to get my old database from many years ago, I might be able to find it. But the game that I won to become the youngest master feature this opening was a game that I played against Ilya Terzic, master at the Marshall Chess Club back in 1997. So this is more or less my knowledge of this, was that you go knight 3. Now, of course, many kids at the time would make the blunder. They would make a classic blunder with bishop d7, which is a huge mistake, because now you go queen e2 check, hitting the king, and you also guard the bishop. So if black blocks with like bishop e7, you go knight takes pawn. If black takes, you take the bishop with check, and you're simply up just one pawn here. So you're completely up a pawn, and if black blocks with a queen, again, you go knight takes pawn, queen takes. Now you can take it either with the bishop or with the knight. Let's just say with the bishop, and once again, you're simply up a pawn in the center. So you're just up a pawn. So this is more or less my prep. Now I know later on, my stepfather, he would actually, I think a couple of games he'd play, he started playing bishop b5 to try and tweak the order. So on bishop d7, he would take and hope that they would take, and he would get the same trick with queen e2. But of course, black can just take, and after pawn takes, actually, I think a6 is better here, right? No, maybe e takes d5. Okay, computer says ed is better, but he would play this a little bit. He would tinker with this line as well. This was all basically just my stepfather and I just like playing the opening because it was his opening. I mean, he taught it to me. So this is more or less what I knew against e6. Okay, so this is pretty much all that. So we've looked at a6, we've looked at e6. So let's keep going. So now knight c6 is probably the most common line at the time, at least. And now after f4, there are a couple options black has. I'll show one option because this also happened, which was with e6, knight f3, and there's this line with knight g e7. Now again, I had this in the World Youth, I think under 12, maybe in like 2000 or maybe 99 or 2000. Of course, this one you go d4, takes, knight c6, queen f2 again, same thing, bishop d3, bishop e3, castles, and you just play the game of chess. And this is it. This is all I knew. Like, you just develop castle the king and you just play the game. That's it. So that's another one. So now the most common line, there were basically two other ways that people would play it. One was to go d6 here. The other was to play, there's one other line that I forgot. So e6, knight f3. Instead of d5, or instead of knight g7, another line that was very common was for play d5, bishop b5, and here black has two options. They can go d4, knight f6. Now if black goes d4, you take on c6, black takes, and you go knight e2. And here black has a couple options. I remember when I played against some of the old computers, that were about 2200 level, they used to play d3, but after pawn takes, queen takes d3, queen a4, white is a little bit better here. Or maybe it's not queen a4. Knight e5 is strong here, huh? Nope, you guys. Sorry, I have to change the scene so you guys see it. No, you guys, look at the evaluation. At first you saw the bar go wrong. As we see, even in 1997, I knew the best move here was queen to a4. As you guys see, it was not knight to e5, it was queen to a4. This was the move. So as you see, even in 1997, I knew what the best move was. Just had to show that to you guys because you guys can see that it's the right move. Anyway, so yeah, so this was one of the lines that would happen a lot. And if knight f6, you go d3 and you're better. So all pretty standard. Knight f6 is another line. I think I had this against Bortnick recently in some blitz where you take e5, knight d7, you play d3. And there's a very simple idea here, which you want to move the knight out of the way and play c4. So say bishop e7, knight e2 castles. If you get c4 in here, you get this lock of the structure. White is generally much better here. Because if black goes bishop a6, you go b3, you wall in the bishop. And you'll notice the bishop has no scope because these pawns are all in the way. There are no diagonals that you close it. Additionally, long term, you can put pressure on these double pawns with like bishop a3 and rook c1. So this was another line that happened quite a bit. So this was the e6, and then of course the main line that would be played was pawn to g6 here, knight to f3, bishop g7, and then my stepfather and I, we played different lines. The lines that we played was bishop b5 or bishop c4. Now he played bishop c4 a lot with e6, f5, and nowadays computer basically says it's absolute rubbish because black can just take the pawn. But in those days, before computers had figured out everything, most humans were afraid of grabbing the pawn, so they play knight g7 takes, and they would take either with the f pawn or the d pawn here. Both are very playable, but nowadays after g takes f5, generally speaking, black is just much better if you know what you're doing. So there's bishop c4, and then the line that I played mostly was bishop b5, and now black has a couple options. Knight d4 is the main one, and you have two main ways to play this. You can play either a4 or bishop d3. Now, bishop d3, I showed you guys a game that I lost in the World Youth Chess Festival under 10 on a video, which is on YouTube against David Baramidze, the strong German grandmaster. Now, he played d6, which was the correct move at the time. But back then, even not everybody understood these lines super well. There was not deep preparation, and quite a few players would blunder with pawn to e6 here. And now after knight takes knight, pawn takes knight b5, d6, white has c3 here, and if black goes pawn to, or not a6, sorry, black takes, you take away from the center to open up the diagonal for the bishop. Additionally, you put pressure on the back, on the pawn here on d6 potentially. And if black goes a6 here, you can go queen a4 check. Black cannot take, so you lose the rook. If he blocks, you take with check. And if he goes like king f8, you go queen a3. And again, you're hitting the rook. You have the classic right triangle, 90 degree, and you're going to win the pawn on d6 next move, and it's completely winning. So this was one line. However, if they do play d6 here, I think our conclusion at the time was you take, go knight e2, and after knight f6, you try to play like c3 and take, develop the bishop and castle, and it's probably okay, but it's not really all that special. So this was probably one of the lines. And later on, probably when I was about 12 or 13, I ended up developing this line a4 with my stepfather, with a4, and if e6, you go e5. I still do play this, by the way, in blitz, as you guys will notice. But that's more or less, I think, right there, the extent of my preparation, you guys, for the entire Grand Prix. That's pretty much my prep. I'm trying to think if there are any other lines that I missed along the way. I don't think I did. I think that's literally my preparation, you guys. So that's my entire preparation of the Sicilian Grand Prix, basically from the time it was about like 1700 till about 2300. So from about 97 to 1997 to about 1999. That was it. That's it, you guys. That's it. So see, in 10 minutes, I can literally show you the entire repertoire that I had. Nowadays, of course, it's completely different. Now there probably are now of course you have to know like a million different lines, and it's just not the same game. That's it. Yeah, that's it, you guys. There you guys go. That was my entire preparation. That doesn't look like much preparation. Like I said, computers ruin chess. That's life. Computers ruin chess. That's why I said it's not a science. Like, this was my prep. I knew to get to the position, how to develop, and just play the game, and that's it. Nowadays, of course, every line goes out like 30 different moves. So it's just crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. It's just crazy. It is. Okay, dude, computers are awesome. Yeah, chat is now 2300. Right, exactly. So it's hard to be a good player. No, I think it's a lot easier because when you're younger and you're learning the game, you can go over 1,000,000 lines in a lot less time with a computer, and it's just completely different nowadays versus the old days. So that's what I would say.